beauty of technology, right? We're all here in person probably, but are we good? All right, well, thank you everybody for joining us today to learn a little bit more about the Columbarium. I'm going to be joined by Marty, the expert in terms of how this is going to get done. But we'll go through a number of aspects of it. For those of you here, hopefully you have a copy of all the materials that we'll reference today. For those who might be watching live stream now or later, if you want copies of any of these materials, feel free just to email me at tedox@msn.com or call Beth at the church office and she'll mail it out or email it to you. So, and if you lose your materials or you have a fight with your spouse about them and you want your own copy, just let me know and I'll give you your own copy. All right, what we're going to just do, and this I don't think will take long, but if you have questions along the way or questions at the end, you know, feel free to ask them, okay? Don't leave with a question. And if you have a question that comes later, feel free just to email me, and we'll get you the answer. Wanted to recap kind of what's gone on just recently, and then we'll review the Columbarium plan, and Marty will carry a lot of that, talking about kind of, again, where's it going to be located, how's it going to get accomplished. And then we'll talk about kind of fundraising for the plan and where we are with that. And then finally, if you're interested in purchasing a space called a niche, as you'll learn, or I don't know if it's niche or niche or whatever, we'll talk about how you can kind of reserve a spot in the Columbarium for later use, hopefully much later. Okay? So, what's gone on recently? Well, in November at the church council meeting, a motion was made to approve the construction of a columbarium on our campus. That motion was supported by the trustees, so the trustees had voted on it prior to coming to church council, then church council approved it. The motion kind of just highly summarized, approved the building of a columbarium close to the Labyrinth and Prayer Garden over on the Agape part of our campus. We'll show you a picture a little bit later that gives you a more precise location. The construction budget that was approved was up to $150,000. We think it'll come in under, but you know how building projects go. When was the last time you ever had a building project that came in under budget? So we think it'll cost more like $140,000, but we have permission to spend up to $150,000. The trustees are charged with the responsibility to oversee this project and to manage the columbarium. The finance committee, of which I'm the chair of, was charged with raising the funds for the columbarium. So that's kind of one big action that occurred back in November and that we've been kind of implementing since. The project team, Kelly Hubeck from the trustees, Marty, and you'll see Marty has a couple roles here, thank goodness. Roger Wittenbach, who's been a force to kind of get a number of initiatives going, kind of behind the scenes, is on the team, as well as I am from the finance committee. So it's kind of four of us working on this. Marty has agreed to be our construction manager, and let's just say if he negotiated all his contracts like he did with the one with the church, he'd be broke. So we're very thankful that he is willing to step into this role and to kind of make sure that the columbarium is constructed in a quality manner and a manner that we'll all be proud of. So appreciate him volunteering his time in that regard as well, on a very, like as I said, church-friendly contract. So let's talk about the columbarium. And first we're going to do a quiz. And I got prizes for you. Sorry for those of you who might be live streaming that you don't get the prize, but you can still answer the question. So here's my question, and the answers were provided to you in the mailing that went out on Friday via email, okay? I don't want you seeing you checking your phones right now, though. Here's the question for you. What percent of people in the United States who passed away last year were cremated? That's a good guess, but wrong. 56, did I hear? See, Jerry, he reads a little better than you, but you were, well, I won't tell Reverend Chrissy you're ignoring her emails that come out on a Friday. I won't tell her that. Actually, though, your answer is not bad because by 2030, it's projected 72% of us who pass away that year will be cremated. So Jerry gets his choice of these exquisite candy bars I picked up at Giant yesterday. Which one would you like, sir? All right. And well, just one comment on that for me, as when I was growing up, I don't know about you, but somebody being cremated was like a foreign concept to me. That just didn't happen. Like, I heard about it, but I never knew it happened, if you will. And to think 56% of the folks who died last year were cremated in America. That to me is an amazing shift in our lifetime, if you will. Oh, you just answered the next question. She is good. You get the other candy bar, the one Jerry didn't want. All right, so my next question was, why has this, this transition, if you will, from traditional burial to cremation occurred? One of it is space. People have gotten much more sensitive about the space that, cemeteries were taking up. Cost is another reason. Cremation is a much more affordable way of going, if you will, than traditional. Another is families have gotten much more geographically dispersed, and so you don't have like where that family has always been in this community and kind of has a tradition of going to the cemetery. It's just, we tend to be spread out. And so, that tight-knit family, generation after generation after generation in one community isn't as prevalent. And so therefore the desire to have a traditional burial kind of has gone down. And then the fourth thing I read was that a lot of folks who have immigrated into the United States have a custom of cremation, and that's helped make it more acceptable because they're bringing their traditions into ours, if you will, and cremation is part of that. So, good job on the quiz. I mean, somebody guessing the answer before I ask the question. Tell me that's not really good. I'll tell you. So, let's talk about what is a columbarium, because if you were me and the first time you heard that, I was like, huh? What? I didn't know what Roger and Marty were talking about, wanting to build a columbarium. I was like, I got to go home and look this word up. But it's a permanent above-ground structure, or it could be a wall that has recessed areas, and you'll get used to this word niche or niche, where cremated human remains are stored. Okay? That's all it is. And if you were to Google it, you'll see tons of different structures. It's amazing the creativity that cemeteries and churches have used to create different designs, if you will. Our columbarium will have 60 niches. Each niche will hold up to 4 urns, okay? Of a certain size, obviously. You could create an urn that would fill up the whole thing. But the standard size urn, if you will, 4 of them will go into one niche, all right? You'll see in the design Marty will share with us that the way the design that we've come up with is if we ever need more than 60, we can build a second columbarium or a second structure. And if that ever filled up, we could build a third very easily in the design we have. It's just building kind of another unit, if you will, that would hold 60. So we could go up to 180 if we ever need to. We've engaged Eichhoff Columbaria. They're out of Crookston, Minnesota, to construct the kind of the main structure, if you will. They have a lot of experience. If you go on their website, you'll see just a tremendous, the experience is pretty broad. And in fact, a couple churches around here have used them for their columbariums. So it's not like we're breaking new ground with this manufacturer. They're well established. So now I'm going to turn this over to Marty to talk, I think, let's see, oops, too fast.
It just occurred to me this morning, my last project may be where I spend eternity. which is pretty cool, actually. So I want this thing to be built right. I don't want to get wet. I guess I'll get cold, but it reminds me of a song. You remember Tennessee Ernie Ford? 16 tons. What do you get? Yeah. Another day older and deeper in debt. Hold that thought for a minute. This columbarium structure is planned to be sited at the far end of the site behind the labyrinth. As a matter of fact, there's a sick old tall pine tree over there with a yellow ribbon around it. That's pretty much ground zero. It may shift a little bit one place or another, but it will be a serene setting next to the labyrinth, next to the prayer garden at that end of the site. And one day, if the parking area is ever enlarged, it will be accessible by some new sidewalks. Right now, the drawing that you see here shows a sidewalk from Agape, and part of our plan is that Agape will be more frequently utilized, and we're thinking for services and post services and that kind of a thing as well. How do I change these? Oh, there you go. This is a picture of the whole structure. You'll notice the columbarium itself on the left with the black, I say niche. Is that okay? Yeah, it's kind of like tomato, I guess, but in a circular pattern, and where the peripheral benches are the potential sites for columbarium number 2 and columbarium number 3. Can I grab this? Yeah. Oop, no, I got this one right here. Oh. 16 tons. By the way, in this one little structure, which is about 12 feet wide, there are over 8 tons of concrete, 4 tons of niches, and 4 more tons of peripheral stone and limestone caps. So altogether, that thing there weighs 16 tons. This is an actual niche cover, and the entire niche structure is solid granite. This thing must weigh 10, 15 pounds. And although this has a church logo on it, if you were to have 4 people in the niche, there would be 4 inscriptions, 4 names and dates and so forth. Yeah, like this. And this is gold inlay on. There you go. Thank you, Ted. Gold inlay on polished black granite. Let me mention the structure again. The 8 tons of concrete have to be designed to prevent settlement, overturning in hurricane-force winds, and so forth. So I assure you this thing will not move. The peripheral stone is a local stone to match the church. We were talking about matching Agape, but and that stone is still available, but to get it cut in a semicircular pattern took the budget way off of the chart. So as you look over at it, it will match the church and vice versa. It will also be lit with a dim LED lighting system. There'll be water there for watering the plants. And aside from a little bit of pointing or maybe caulking every 10 or 20 years, it'll be maintenance-free. And I think it's not my place to talk budget, but I think what will happen when the subscription is further along, there'll be a little bit of money left over to endow a maintenance fund. So we won't have to struggle with who's going to take care of this thing. The brick, I'll call it a patio. That's probably not what it should be called, is an opportunity for engraved bricks, which we would sell and help fund. That's about it as far as the construction is concerned. Any questions on that? Yes.
Do you have to determine whether you're going to have 2 people or 4 people in the beginning? And the second part of that question is, how do you get it engraved after one's up there? How do you get it engraved for like the next one? I mean, do they come out and make it?
Actually, the door comes off and gets sent back to the people who made this to be re-engraved every time.
Know for spacing with the lettering, whether you're going to have 1, 2, 4 people in there.
Well, yeah, that's correct. Well, it was a bit of a group effort. We don't like ugly here. Oh, good. Yeah, Roger Wittenbach had direct contract. He found these guys. There are a lot of people in the country that make these, but this particular company appears to be one of the best. And he fell in love with that little bit of an arc, and that precipitated the circular design and so forth. That company made a linear one at Roland Park Country School, which is nice. And then they have a curved section also, and it's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. I'm going to come back to some of these slides, but on the plate design, get to your question, you do want to know ahead of time how many urns you're going to have in there, so you can so that they're able to kind of space out the lettering. But there's something we were talking about earlier on this. If you know who's going to go in there, and you know they're not going to change their mind, which is kind of important, you can get a lot of that pre-engraved, and just have, you could put the names and the birth years. And that, by the way, that we're going to do birth years. We're not doing the full date. It's just birth year and the year they pass is what will be on there. So, Marty, I forgot I got one more for you. You want to talk about the timing?
It's still early. I can't remember 4 things in a row here. So the concrete goes in first and has to take at least a couple of weeks to cure before that 4-ton granite structure goes on top of it. And that's April, as we predict right now. And it all keys on when the niches will be delivered. So once we get a confirmation on that, we'll back up 30 days and start the concrete work. Then the niches come on the truck and then with the crane and get fastened to the concrete. At that point, then we can install the stone, the field stone around the periphery. The capstones come with it. Actually, they mount the capstones on the niche structure. So the field stone comes up to butt to it, and there's a drip edge and a little overhang and so forth. After that's done, the plumbing, the water piping, and the electrical service are run underground, and the Magzalia Nursery is doing the brickwork. They'll excavate the circle. We'll have had some stone around the back to build a site up so it's level, but not, this doesn't want to be down in a hole and trap water and so forth. And so in the third month, we'll have Magzalia there doing the patio and then the landscaping. And right now we're projecting completion in July, based on what we've been told. So, but like any construction job, stuff happens, you know, so, but that's the plan.
All right, thank you. One of the materials that I passed out, and I think it's very important if you're interested potentially in purchasing a niche, is the rules and regulations, because you really do want to understand kind of how this works. And those rules and regulations, I'll go through a few of the ones that some folks have had questions about, or questions that these rules and regulations will answer. But one of the things I would love for you to do for us, this is new to us. This is our first Columbarium. We took rules and regulations from a few other churches and kind of created these. If anything's not clear to you as it's written, if it raises a question or you have a concern or you think something's not addressed, will you let me know? Because this is a document that we can revise over time, and I doubt we got it perfect first time out, okay? So please read through those and get back to me if you do have questions. But a few things about the rules and regulations. This is the responsibility of the trustees, so they ultimately will be the ones in the church that are charged with managing the Columbarium and creating the rules and regulations around it. It's the purpose of the Columbarium for our church is to hold the cremated remains of past and present members of Hunts and their immediate family. So you want to look in the rules and regulations is how do we define immediate family then, okay? So it's not for the general public. Somebody couldn't walk off the street and say, hey, I'd like to purchase a niche, can I do it? This is for past and present members of the congregation. You purchase it through an agreement, very, very simple agreement. It's in your packet. You'll see it's very simple. The fees, you pay a fee, $2,000 at the time you purchase a niche, and then the next time you pay a fee is when you need the faceplate to be engraved, and that's $400. Now those figures can change over time, you know, inflation, all that stuff, but that's kind of those are the two fees that are associated with purchasing a niche and having your remains stored in there. At the time, is getting back to Kathy's question, at the time you purchase a niche, you can designate who you want to be reserved, you know, what space you want, who that space is reserved for. Whoever purchases a niche can update that over time as well, because life happens, you know, things change. So you're not locked into what you designate initially, but if you kind of know who you want around you forever, you can say that now, okay? And like I said, you can update it as time goes if need be. If the person who purchased a niche passes away, there's rules about how that gets transferred to somebody else to manage. If somebody who there's a space designated for doesn't want to use it, there's rules around that. So read those rules and regulations and just make sure they make sense to you. And if they don't, let me know, please. Let's see. That's pretty much it on the legal side of it. It's not real complicated, but it is important, right? It's your final resting place, so you kind of want to make sure you know how it's going to work. Now I know you all wondering, how are we going to pay for this? Oh, wait, we got a question before we wondered how we're going to pay for this.
So that niche is that holds up the core of who you want.
Correct.
So if you just want one, you pay for that niche.
Exactly. That's kind of how I interpreted that last comment, but you know, I was like, yeah, yep, no, Right. And I mean that's a good point. If you buy a niche, like the church can't like shove other people in, you know. Yes. No. No, that's a good point because you may not want other people around you. Feel a little crowded in there. Oh, we got a question in the back.
We have a question from the live stream. So somebody asked,
This is getting sophisticated.
underneath the location, any utility pipes or wiring?
No, according to Marty. Okay. All right. So now the question John was really going to ask, until that other one popped in his head, was how are we going to pay for all this? So I mentioned we had a $150,000 budget. As good news is, to date, we've raised almost $80,000 of it. I've had a couple members of the church come forward with some seed gifts, if you will, to get this project off the ground, $50,000. The Carol's Guild's Permanent Endowment Fund gave us a gift already of $25,000 to add to it. And then the Memorial Committee identified $4,400, and I apologize to Roland Otto. I got him rolling. I meant just Roland Otto, but spell check got me on this one. So some memorial funds are being directed to it. So we have about $80,000 roughly raised. We need to raise 70. Okay, that's where you all come in. All right, and those on live stream too. So let's talk about some ideas. Well, I got my clip art out, and I found a brick, a bench, and a tree. So if you're so inclined, you could sponsor a bench for $3,000. All right. As the picture showed, we imagine installing 3 benches. If we have more than 3 people, we'll figure it out. Okay. You can sponsor that tree in the middle. $2,500 is what we're saying if you want to be that tree sponsor. If you want to be a sponsor for the landscaping, $1,000 gift. And we have lots of landscaping, so feel free to we take as many $1,000 gifts as any folks want to give. The engraved bricks that Marty mentioned, we're going to have that, and you've seen this in a lot of kind of public projects and private ones as well, where you buy a brick and exactly how much can go on it, we'll figure that out. So if you plan on putting a novel on a brick, don't. But if it's like your name or something short, that's probably what we'll do. But if you want to buy a brick, it's $100 each. All these things that have kind of any kind of engraving or something like that, we'll come back to you afterwards and find out exactly what you want on it, so you don't need to know that now. Oh, I got a question.
Will that engraving need to be done before the bricks are laid? Do it after it's already?
I think a lot of times these things are done so you can do it afterwards, but I mean, hopefully we'll know to be able to do it all kind of ahead of time as much as possible. Uh-huh.
I had done some for some older relatives with next way, and I think you could do in memory of or in honor of, and then the name. And then I'm just mentioning because it may be a resource
Yep.
to check how they did it or to go look at their work.
Okay. And if you want to just do an undesignated gift, always welcome, large or small, any amount's appreciated. Is contributing to the church and kind of some of the activities of the church, and so we'll take any gift. You can do it by check, or if you went on to the giving tab recently on church, you'll see the Columbarium is listed there as a specific activity that you can give to. What we would love is if you'd make a pledge by the end of March, and and pay before the end of the year. So if you don't have the money now, which a lot of folks may not have that money sitting around, but could accumulate it over time, feel free to make a pledge now, and I'll work. Obviously keep in touch with you, and we'd appreciate it by the end of the year.
You say the leach costs $2,000.
Yes.
Is there an annual maintenance fee?
No.
That's it.
Yep. Okay.
What was that question?
Yeah, the question was, the niche itself costs $2,000. Is there an annual maintenance fee? And the answer is no. Nope, Marty?
Said, in the stack of money, you just run over, I think the $2,000 times 60 niches is missing.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Not missing, but not referenced yet. My hope is that we can fundraise the full 150,000 so that the niche purchases can go to kind of maintenance of the general site. Perhaps there's other work we could do with the labyrinth and prayer garden to kind of tie it in. Perhaps it seeds this building of a second columbarium. You know, so I think there's a lot of good uses that niche money should go to. So, you know, I would challenge the church to try to raise the full 150. But yes, the sale of niches can go towards the construction cost as well. I just would challenge us to not have to go there. But, you know, it's fine if we do. So, since we brought up niche sale questions, they are available for purchase. In the materials that you have the license and agreement and the rules and regulations. Again, please review those carefully before you kind of purchase a niche. The way the process works is you technically are submitting an application to the trustees and then the trustees approve it. That's kind of the process, if you will. And Kelly Hubeck and Peg Melfa have volunteered to be our initial columbarium coordinators. So they'll end up being kind of the key points of contact going forward. But until we're kind of all settled in our roles, because this is somewhat new and we're all kind of learning, you can always reach out to me if you have questions on this stuff as well. So I think that is my final slide. Yeah, it is. Hopefully I didn't mess up. So what questions do you all have? Anything? The only thing we have to get, the question for those live stream was, are there any zoning approvals, that kind of thing. The only requirement we have is to have a variance to our easement approved, which it's in the works. It's a very time-consuming process, but we think we're at the end of it, and we should know before the end of March. But that's all. Well, it doesn't require specific approval from the county to build a columbarium. We just have to get the variance to the easement that's already existing on our property approved. Let's say with the process we've going with the easement variance, we don't anticipate any issues. It's been posted, and we should hear by the end of March the approval. Yeah. Barb.
So, how do you decide which niche is yours?
Well, you know, no, that's a good question. So for those live streaming, the question is, are you able to select your own niche? I was saying earlier, if you read the rules and regulations, it's silent on it, but I've had a number of people ask me, and I also get where, like, some people may not want to be on the bottom row, or you may not want to be on the top, or you may not want to be near so-and-so, you know, like, all kinds of thoughts might go through your head. Or your lucky number is, 13, right? So I believe it makes sense that you would choose what niche.
So sort of a first come, first served.
Well, yeah, I don't like to think of it that way, but yeah. I hope you all don't go rush into it, but no, I know. I think that makes sense, and we'll probably update the rules to say that. That was the question that's come up this week that I think, I can't think of a reason why that doesn't make sense for people. Other questions?
Is there a certain type of urns that have to go in the niche? Because I think
Yep.
we're cremated.
Yeah, so the question is, do you have to use a certain kind of urn to go in the niche? The answer is no, but if you want 4 to get stored in there, they have to be a certain size, and the manufacturer of the columbarium sells the size that fits. Now, others may as well. Now, somebody else also asked a question about like different materials, like can it be a wooden urn? Little concerned if my ashes were in a wooden urn with humidity and different things, so I wouldn't recommend that, but I think there's one, because this is so common now, there's a lot of urn styles out there, and as long as it fits and you're gonna be able to get whatever number of urns you want in there, I don't see why that would be an issue.
I had a clarification on the question on the easement.
Okay.
A clarification on the easement question, if there's neighborhood protest and so forth, and the variance runs into trouble. The current proposed location is half in the easement and half not. And the simplest solution is to relocate the Columbarium site to not be in the easement, which is about 15 feet closer to the church, so.
That makes me feel more comfortable.
Right.
Okay, anything else?
Ted, does the Agape House and the church all go with one piece of property?
So,
Just thinking, God forbid, the church would ever close, what would happen to the columbarium?
right, so the question is the Agape House property and the church property one property? No, it is two separate properties. If for whatever reason the church ever wanted to sell, it would have to relocate the columbarium onto the property, which it can do. People have moved columbariums, obviously not ideal, but that is a responsibility of the church if it were to ever want to sell that property. But that is I want to say downside, but that is a result of putting it there, is you kind of make that property less saleable by the church. All right, anything else? Well, thank you all for coming today. Thank you online. Feel free to give anytime for this project. And if you have questions along the way, please reach out to me or Peg and Kelly. Thanks.